If you think you've seen wilderness, wait until you step into Everglades National Park. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 10 must-do experiences that make this place so unforgettable so that you know exactly where to go and what to look for. My name is Ash, and I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. And to be honest, Everglades National Park was never really a park that I was super excited about visiting. I just thought it was a big swamp, and yes, it would be cool to see alligators, but it wasn't very high on my list. So, as you can imagine, the first time we went to Everglades, I was blown away. I absolutely fell in love with this national park. I was so shocked at how much I loved just being out in this wilderness area, seeing all the really cool wildlife that I actually have never really seen before because I'm from Utah and it was a totally different experience. So I am really excited to share with you some of my favorite stops, some of the best places to go in this national park if you're hoping to have an unforgettable trip as well. So let's jump in to Everglades National Park and the 10 things you need to do while you're there. Number 1, the Anhinga Trail. The Anhinga Trail is a very popular boardwalk trail in the main part of the park, and this trail is perfect if you're wanting to catch your first glimpse of an alligator, if you're wanting to see some wildlife. If you only have a few minutes or maybe a few hours in the park, this is a great place to start. So looking at the map of Everglades National Park, we are at the very bottom of Florida, the very bottom, not including all these islands. But Everglades takes up a huge portion of the very bottom of Florida. We're just outside of Miami here. And so it is really easy if you're in the area for something else to just pop into the Everglades. And that's why I mentioned the Anhinga Trail here, because Everglades does have 3 different sections. We've got this one down here where you can see the road going all the way down here. You've got Shark Valley up here, which is a super cool part of Everglades. We'll get to that. And then you've got the Gulf Coast stuff over here. So the Anhinga Trail is along this long paved road. This is really the only good way to get deeper into the Everglades along this road. And so you're going to want to drive it if you can. And the Anhinga Trail is just right here at the beginning of this road. So you'll go through the entrance station, you'll pass by the visitor center, you'll make a little turn off to get to the Royal Palms area, and the Anhinga Trail starts from here. What I love about this trail is you never know what you're going to find. You could see pelicans, you could see turtles, you can see alligators, you can see anhingas, which is a type of bird, but it's always an adventure. And because this trail is only 0.8 miles round trip, it's a boardwalk, it's wheelchair accessible, it's family friendly. It really is a great place to come to stretch your legs and to see some of the wildlife that makes Everglades so cool. Now, one silly little thing that happens in this parking lot is the vultures actually like to pick at the rubber on your car. So when you park here, you'll see some tarps that are available right there at the visitor center, and you're going to want to put those over your car just in case. Number 2, the Pa-Hay-Okee Overlook. So a lot of people think that Everglades National Park is a swamp, and it actually isn't. It's a slow-moving river, and this slow-moving river provides nutrients and life to a lot of different creatures. So this national park really protects a lot of interesting species, and that's one of the things that makes this park so cool. So from the Pa-Hay-Okee Overlook, you'll go up a little hill. This area is very flat, and so even just going up a little bit will give you a better vantage point into the River of Grass, as it's nicknamed. The Pa-Hay-Okee Overlook is right here. So again, along kind of this big paved road that goes through the park. And it's a quick pull off and a very quick trail. The trail to the overlook is only 0.2 miles round trip. It is on a boardwalk as well, and a portion of it is wheelchair accessible. But you can, again, get just like a slightly higher vantage point, looking down into the marsh, looking down into the slow-moving river that runs through this part of Florida, and see if you can see any creatures. Mostly, though, it's just cool to feel like you are looking into the river of grass, looking into the Everglades, that you're deep in the Everglades. The views are very expansive and it's just really unique. Number 3, the Flamingo Marina. I love this marina. It is so cool. We always see so many amazing creatures down here. And again, like being in Everglades feels like a safari. You never know what you're going to see. And there's some really cool animals that you can see from Flamingo. Flamingo is all the way at the end of this paved road. You can see it right down here. There's a visitor center, there's a campground, there's a lodge, there's the marina, which is where we usually hang out. But this is the end of the road for you if you're driving down here in Everglades. Why you need to drive all the way down here to Flamingo? It is a pretty long drive, but the thing is this is where the river of grass, the slow moving river that's going through Everglades National Park, meets up with the salty ocean. And that creates just a really unique landscape. It brings in other creatures that you might not have seen thus far in your Everglades vacation. And so it just adds a little variety and gives you a different look at the Everglades. My absolute favorite thing to see here are the manatees that like to hang out in the Flamingo Marina area. Usually you can just stand on the dock and watch the manatees swim around. It takes no extra effort, but it's really, really cool. Another thing you'll want to be looking out for while you're down here is the elusive American crocodile. Everglades National Park actually has both alligators and crocodiles, which is really crazy. It's very unique. And so you will see alligators a little bit higher up, usually in the park, more up towards the Anhinga Trail and Shark Valley. You'll see alligators more often as well. But you do need to go down to the southern part of the park, down by the saltwater, to see those crocodiles most of the time. So if you're lucky, you'll see one. We have seen them down here, and it is such an amazing experience to be able to spot one. Number 4, the Nike Missile Base. There is an interesting piece of history here in Everglades National Park. This missile base was built in response to the Cuban Missile Crisis in the Cold War. It was completed in 1965, and you can go through and you can tour. You can actually see the Hercules missile. At one point, there was actually 140 people stationed here in response to the Cuban Missile Crisis. All right, so again, we're along this main park road to get to the Nike missile site. And it is right down here. So just a short little drive off of the main road, not too far from the Anhinga Trail. You can go down this road and you can get to the missile base. What I love about places like this is you get a chance to see history. And in addition to that, it's a really cool learning experience about something that honestly I didn't know much about until I stopped here. And I love talking to the park rangers and the park volunteers that are passionate about this time in history and can teach me more and can show me what I'm looking at, explain what I'm standing next to and what I'm seeing. So it's just a really cool way to enhance your vacation, to talk to a park ranger or a volunteer, to learn more, to make that human connection in this important time in history. The hours are limited here, so keep that in mind. You'll want to check the park calendar so that you know when it will be open. Typically, it's like 10 to 2. They have an open house style just walk through where you can see pictures and talk to volunteers. And they also do often have ranger programs that you can join if you're a history buff and you want a more in-depth experience here at the Missile Base. Number 5, the Mahogany Hammock Trail. A hammock in the Everglades. See, I didn't know this because I'm a Utah. So as I've visited Everglades over and over, I'm learning so many interesting things. But a hammock is an area of land that is slightly higher than what's around it. So basically, it's an island in the middle of this river of grass. It doesn't take much elevation for the flora to change in this national park. So what's crazy is we have a little bit more elevation here at the Mahogany Hammock, and that allows bigger plants to grow, including mahogany trees. And in fact, along this trail, you can actually see the largest mahogany tree in the United States. The Mahogany Hammock Trail is just right here, just right off the main park road. On this one, you feel like you're exploring a jungle. It's really neat to be so close to so many beautiful trees. Look for that giant mahogany tree. You'll also see other trees like Gumbo Limbo trees. You'll see a lot of ferns, things like that, things that you haven't seen as you've been driving through the Everglades. This is a 0.5-mile loop. It is a boardwalk. It's wheelchair accessible. It's good for everybody. You will want to wear bug spray on this one probably because you're in more of a tropical rainforest feeling trail. It did seem to have more bugs than other places in the Everglades. Number 6, the Gumbo Limbo Trail. So this one is fun. The Gumbo Limbo tree, as I mentioned, you will see these on the Mahogany Hammock Trail as well. But the Gumbo Limbo tree is a funny tree to me. I really like this tree. And there's a trail where you can walk and you can see a whole bunch of these in one spot. The Gumbo Limbo Trail is just right here by the Anhinga Trail. You can park once and you can do both of these trails here in the Royal Palms area. So the Gumbo Limbo trees, we don't have these in Utah, so they're very unique to me. I love seeing them in the Everglades, but this trail will take you, it's about 0.4 miles. It will take you around on a boardwalk, wheelchair accessible, to see a whole bunch of these trees. The tree is funny to me because it has a reddish brown bark that peels, and it's actually nicknamed the tourist tree because it looks like it got sunburnt and then the skin is peeling off, which I can relate to with my very pale complexion. So it's just a really funny tree to me. I really like seeing it out in the wild. Now, the other good thing about this trail is you're in the Anhinga Trail area, which does get very busy. And taking the Gumbo Limbo Trail actually gets you away from almost all the crowds in this area. And so it's a short trail. You get to see some cool trees, but it's also quiet. So you can have some solitude here. Okay, so we're about to leave this main park road and go to some of the other locations in the Everglades. But before we do, I do have to mention number 7, bird watching. Bird watching in Everglades is huge. There are so many different kinds of birds here. You get like the more tropical looking birds because of the location, and it's a very popular thing to do in this park. So if you're going to go bird watching, I recommend doing it while you're driving the main park road. All right, so looking at the map, again, you've got that road through the park. And as you look, I zoomed in a little bit so you can see all these ponds just here right off of the road. And these ponds are some of the very best places to look for birds. You never know what you're going to see. So there isn't like one particular pond that's always better than another. The birds fly around and they move around. So even if you have just a very rudimentary or very basic level of experience or interest in bird watching, you should give it a try here in Everglades. I personally am not very much into birding, but when we're in the Everglades, it really is amazing to see all the different kinds of birds. And in fact, on our last trip to Everglades, one of the biggest highlights of the trip for all of us, me, my husband, my kids, was sitting on the edge of a pond and watching a pelican dive for fish and eat the fish in the pond. It was really cool. Definitely just give it a try, give it a few minutes, sit at one of these beautiful ponds and see what you can see. I do also want to mention that some of these ponds have canoe trails and they're very popular for canoeing and kayaking as well. And so if that's something that interests you, you can do both at the same time. You can get out on a canoe and you can do some really cool bird watching. Number 8, Shark Valley. Ah, Shark Valley. We're leaving that main paved road area of the park and we're heading to one of the smaller areas here in Everglades. Shark Valley, though, it's amazing. And this is the quintessential Everglades experience. When you think of the Everglades, you are thinking about what you are going to see in Shark Valley. Okay, so on the Everglades map here, so here's the road we have been exploring, but now we're going up and around pretty much a straight shot from Miami over to Shark Valley. And Shark Valley, it's a small entrance, it has a visitor center, it has a parking lot, and then you have to get out of your car and you have to go explore here on the Shark Valley Trail. This is the other part of the park. If you only have time for one or the other, you only have a couple hours, you want to see some alligators, you could choose the Anhinga Trail and do a little bit of that paved park road down there. Or you could come up to Shark Valley, which honestly, I think probably gives you a little more bang for your buck if you can get into Shark Valley and you can explore that area. That is by and far the place that we see the most alligators in Everglades. So your priority for Shark Valley is to get on that 15-mile loop. And you can do that in a few different ways. You can hike it if you want. It is mostly paved and stuff, so it doesn't feel like a hike, but you can walk along it. You can bike. That's very popular. A lot of people like to bike the whole loop. Or you can take a tram tour, which is what we usually do because it's just you move a lot faster. You're able to cover a lot more ground. And that tram tour does take you out to the observation tower. So if you take the tram tour, you are able to see the entire 15-mile loop and you're able to do it quicker. So if you don't have as much time, that really is probably the best option. But I will say that if you can bike it, you can go at a slower pace and you have more time to see all the alligators that you're passing by. So there's pros and cons to both ways, but Shark Valley is so cool because you will just see alligators galore. There are so many in this area. You want to go to Everglades and see alligators? This is the place to be. Couple things you'll want to note. The parking area at Shark Valley is pretty small, and they also lock gates. It has actual open and closing times. And so you're going to want to check out the Everglades website, make sure that you know when Shark Valley is going to be open, and get there early so that you can get parking. Number 9 is an airboat ride. We've all seen like those documentaries where people are going through the Everglades on airboats. I think that most of us, when we think of Everglades, that pops into our mind. And so while you're up here in the Shark Valley area, this is also the time that you're going to want to book an airboat tour. The airboat tours that are authorized by Everglades National Park are along the Tamiami Highway here. And so just right outside of Shark Valley is where you'll find the 3 companies that I recommend using for these airboat tours. Please use one of the authorized concessionaires that the National Park Service works with here because they are more environmentally conscious and they are just operating in a better way. And so make sure you're using one of those. You can see them listed on the Everglades National Park website. And going on an airboat tour actually is pretty surprising because it's not the best way to see alligators. You really are just like zipping through really fast. It's loud. You're not getting like that peaceful, serene experience. It can be a little bit jarring, especially coming from Shark Valley, where you've just seen a ton of alligators and you have little pockets of solitude. That is not what to expect on these airboat rides. But they are fun. Just make sure that you set your expectations, that you just have a great time. But you will probably see a couple alligators. It just won't be what you saw in Shark Valley, most likely. Okay, number 10 is to pick a ranger-led adventure. This national park actually has some of the best ranger tours in the country. They're more on the adventurous side, which is really fun. It can get you out of your comfort zone and get you doing something that you otherwise might not feel comfortable doing. Some of the options that they often have are like sluice logging, where they'll actually take you walking through the river of grass, through the slow-moving river to see what you can see. They also do canoeing and kayaking tours, sometimes even like full moon kayaking, which is pretty cool. And you can join in on boat tours, things like that as well. Ranger-led adventures can be found all over the park, but if you're wanting to get up to the 3rd section of Everglades, which is this Gulf Coast area over here, really the best way to see this part is to take a ranger-led guided tour. So we like to do the boat tour through the 10,000 Islands. There are a lot of dolphins out here, which is cool. There's different types of wildlife, again, than what you've probably already seen down in here. But the boat tour is fun. They also have other ones, like I said, like canoeing and stuff like that that you can do. You can see the mangrove forests while you're out boating around. And that's really cool. And that's an important part of Everglades as well. So For me personally, unless I really want to do a ranger-led tour that's down in here, I will usually save my ranger-led tour for the Gulf Coast area so that I can get up here and explore a little bit further. Okay, 10 amazing activities in Everglades National Park. Aren't you so excited to go? Like I said, it's kind of like a safari. You're going through, you don't know what you're going to see. The variety is just immense. There's so many different species and creatures, and there's a lot of threatened and endangered species protected by this park. And remember, you're not in a swamp, you're in a slow moving river that gives life to all of these things. And so it's just an incredible experience. I can't wait for you to have. If you need more help planning your Everglades trip, go to dirtandmyshoes.com. I have so many articles here waiting for you to help you plan your trip. I will answer all the questions you have to make this trip a reality. And if this video is helpful, subscribe to the Dirt in My Shoes channel. I would love to see you here more often, and I have more Everglades content coming for you as well. So if you're planning a national park trip in the future, I have you covered. Be sure to follow along, and we'll see you out on the trail.